Even though the NFL might have had a slow season start, there's still no shortage of news and drama behind the scenes. Right now, it seems like Matt Rhule's status as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers may have come to an end, and the future of his career seems pretty interesting. Today we'll be taking a look at that and some other related news. Let's dive in. First, why did Matt Rhule get fired by the Panthers? Matt Rhule has been the head coach of the Carolina Panthers for around 2 years. Before Rhule joined the Panthers, the team had one of the worst defensive sides in the NFL. It allowed the opposing team to score the second most points in the entire league, and under Rhule's watch, that ranking came down to much less embarrassing 15. Even though he wasn't really perfect, he started to lead the team in the right direction. Before the Panthers, Rhule was the head coach of the Baylor Bears college football team. During his last year at Baylor, he was named the Big 12 Coach of the Year, a remarkable feat. So how did Rhule go from that to getting fired from the Carolina Panthers? You might be wondering. Well, it had something to do with the fact that Rhule and the owner of the Carolina Panthers, David Tepper, weren't exactly getting along. Tepper wanted to completely change the Panthers. However, he wasn't a fan of the new assistants Rhule was bringing over from his days at Baylor. Many of the assistants were initially fired, and there was also a feeling that Rhule was trying to play a much bigger role in the team than the owners were expecting him to. Eventually, push came to shove, and Rhule was officially fired by the Carolina Panthers in October of 2022. Up next, who's taking over Matt Rhule's spot in the Panthers? The role of a head coach in any sporting team is pretty massive. More often than not, it can control the entire performance of a team, which is why the Carolina Panthers already had a replacement for Rhule ready before they even fired him. He's going to be replaced by Steve Wilks, the former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals and a former assistant head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Wilks has been with the Panthers for a long time now, which is why David Tepper chose him to be the interim head coach of the team. Of course, this means that Wilks is only here temporarily until the team finds a suitable head coach. Of course, Wilks does not have the kind of record that Matt Rhule has, so he's not really an exemplary replacement. But as far as getting the team through a transition period is concerned, he's likely to do an okay job. Coming up, where is Matt Rhule headed next after leaving the Panthers? Matt Rhule was one of the most sought-after coaches in the NFL and in the college football circuit. He can likely get multi-million-dollar contracts anywhere in the country, and because of this, he has a lot of choices to choose from. According to Bleacher Report, it seems like Matt Rhule is going to offer a college football team head coach role instead of an NFL team. This obviously suits him the best since he's already had experience with Baylor to prove he's a great college coach. According to Rapoport, some of the most coveted colleges in America are looking to sign Rhule to their team soon, and they might pay him even more than what the Panthers were paying. Previously in college, Matt Rhule took to 2 struggling teams, Temple and Baylor, and transformed them into some of the most dominant teams in the NCAA. Rhule has previously also worked with UCLA, Albright, Western California, and many other teams. There might not even be a better college-level coach than Matt Rhule, at least as far as free agents are concerned. Another thing to note is that the Carolina Panthers are also hoping that Rhule finds another job soon. After all, he's owed over $40 million by the team, and the contract states that the team will have to pay him the remaining money if he doesn't find another team to work for. Of course, if he does find another job, the Panthers can deduct the amount from the money they owe him. Next, did the Carolina Panthers really need to fire Matt Rhule? The reaction to Matt Rhule's firing from the Carolina Panthers has been mixed so far. On one hand, Rhule definitely improved the standing of the team and massively enhanced the defensive side. On the other hand, the 2022 season got off to a horrible start for the Panthers, and their embarrassing defeat against the 49ers was largely blamed on the head coach himself, even if you can argue that it might not have been entirely his fault. People had a lot of opinions on what should have been done, and when you combine that with the fact that the team owners didn't really like Rhule that much, nor did they want to spend $40 million more on him, it's pretty understandable why he was fired. But at the same time, you can argue that this simply wasn't the right time to fire him. Maybe it wasn't the head coach, but rather the owner's interference that was causing the struggles that the Panthers are seeing right now. We all know that Matt Rhule is not a bad coach by any means. Just one bad season does not mean he deserved to be fired. Maybe if the owners simply let Matt do his thing, things could have been different. After all, they hired him to restructure the team, but once he actually tried to make any changes, they fired all of his assistants. Ultimately, we might never know if Rhule could have fixed the problems being faced by the Carolina Panthers, but we may get a better idea of it after we see the performance of the next head coach. Now, let's take a look at some other related news. First, what other coaches deserve to be fired from the NFL? The slow start to the 2022 NFL season is often blamed on the head coaches, whether they deserve it or not. It seems like fans are simply not happy with the performance of their teams, and the coaches are always easy to blame, but in some cases, it really is the coach's fault. There are quite a few coaches that might deserve to be fired from their teams in the NFL right now. Of course, Matt Rhule was always the big example, but there are others as well. Nathaniel Hackett is one name that immediately comes to mind. He is currently in his first season as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, and he had previously worked as an offensive coordinator or a quarterback coach for various different teams in the NFL. His gig with the Broncos was the first time he was given the opportunity to lead a team, but unfortunately for him, it hasn't been for the best. He has already made more than a few mistakes, and in Week 4, he suffered his most embarrassing defeat, losing to a winless Las Vegas Raiders game 32-23. Another coach that comes to mind is Ron Rivera of the Washington Commanders. Under his rule, the Commanders stand at the bottom of its divisional rankings, and despite being a promising coach in his early days, he has proven to not be worth the hype. Coming up, NFL agrees to new concussion protocol. The NFL seemingly can't get enough of concussion-related controversies, and at a time when more players are being seriously injured than ever before, some change was definitely needed. Tua Tagovailoa's injury against the Buffalo Bills in September rejuvenated the whole topic, and it has now led to the NFL Players Union demanding new additions to the concussion protocol. The new protocol would also have to include excessive back injury examinations before players are cleared to play. Previously, Tagovailoa was cleared to play by the NFL doctors because there was seemingly no head injury. However, it was later found out that the player had been concussed due to an injury to his back. The NFL has agreed to all the changes put forward by the Players Union despite showing a lot of hesitation at first. It seems like the PR disaster is just something the NFL does not want to deal with again. And finally, the NFL's slow start seemingly has no end. Fans have been waiting for the 2022 season to pick up pace ever since it started, but even after Week 5, most teams have failed to excite fans offensively at least. It seems like offensive teams are having a harder time scoring points than they were in the previous few seasons, and no one can really come up with an explanation for it. This is despite the fact that most teams have hired offensive-minded head coaches as of late, and with that in mind, this season should have been heavy on the offense. However, it has been slow and, according to many fans, boring to say the least. This can still go either way since we're only at the beginning of the season. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Matt Rhule might bounce back after this firing? Let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.